Well, here we are for our second season with Solihull Moors in the Road to Glory save, and we've got our first full summer where we can make all our own signings as we prepare for life in League Two. So we are starting on the finance screen because not long after last season ended, I saw a little flash of red down here where we were failing the Sky Bet League 2 financial fair play thing. So I had to educate myself a little bit on what financial fair play in League 2 means. And basically, we can't spend any more than £23,500 on player wages. And as you see, we are currently spending 22.5 thousand. Now, all of this going red happened before the 1st of July when a load of players would leave and we would then look at bringing new players in. But yeah, it did worry me ever so slightly to begin with. What also worries me is our overall balance is negative £188.3 thousand. And that is not good. But from our perspective, we've still got money in the transfer budget. We spent hardly any of that. And in the wage budget, we're actually like £10,000 under in the wage budget. So we are doing everything that we should be doing. And if the plans I've got for this team come to fruition, then these overall finances should start to improve in the coming seasons anyway. But without any further ado, let's go to the bit that I know you're really interested in, and that's the player signings, ins and outs. Now, first of all, in terms of the outs, we've not sold anybody this season, but we have had a load of players that have left. So Richard Stearman, who was 36 years old, he retired anyway. Josh Labadie, who was a decent player for us last season, but just he kept getting suspended. There's no point in being here. He's 34 years old as well. He's 2.5 stars. Like I say, he was pretty decent for us, but that 19 aggression just kept getting him in trouble. So we ended up letting him go. He's still available on a free transfer. Nobody wants him so far. Then Callum Maycock, who unfortunately, again, was a very decent player. And I have kind of looked at bringing him back in again because he is still available on a free transfer. He's 3-star current ability, 4-star potential, and some decent attributes about him as well. And if he could stay fit, then he would be a pretty decent player. And like I say, he is still available on a free transfer. And I don't know if I can still make free transfer signings. I think I might be able to, but he does look a very good player to bring in. But we're probably not, because we need to learn a lesson from the fact that he's just injury prone. Jamie Osborne, likewise, is injury prone. He's 32 years old anyway. 3 stars, current and potential ability. He is fairly decent in the anchor role for us that he played last season, but we have got an upgrade on him. Don't worry about that. And then we've got a few youngsters that have left in Tyler Bruck, Ashton DeMolder and Harry Chesterton. Tyler Bruck has actually joined Kings Lynn, and Ashton DeMolder has joined Chorley, but all the others are yet to find clubs of their own. If we have a look at the players we brought in though, first one we brought in, so whenever I do my signings, I always wait till the 1st of July because that way you've got players that are leaving that are then able to leave and you know exactly what your wage budget is. I mean, you kind of know by the committed spending anyway, but you know for definite once they've all gone. And plus anyone that's going to be available on a free transfer, when they leave their clubs in the 1st of July, that's when you can then pick them players up. So yeah, I'll wait till the 1st of July. And then one of the ways you can do it, go to your director of football, suggest signings. And obviously we want free transfers. And if I wanted, say, a striker, I usually leave all roles ticked at this level. But if you want to put advanced forward, for example, do suggest. It'll then give you 3 names of players that are currently available. So you've got Lyle Taylor, who's 34 years old, Charlie Kelman, who's 22 years old, and Mohamed Issa, who is 30 years old. So Charlie Kelman would fit our age bracket. He's got some decent finishing about him. So what we could do is we could offer him a trial. You can use a drop-down menu to select 1, 2, 3 or 4 weeks. I usually just leave it as a week and bring the players in. And yeah, if you want to bring them all in, bring them all in. And you can do that for basically every position on your pitch, if that's what you want to do. Likewise, you can do end of contract, you can do loan, you can do transfer, whichever you prefer. And then you'll get to see what the player's like, what your assistant manager or your chief scout or whoever you've got giving you reports on these players, what they think of them. And then you can make a decision on whether you want to sign him or not. We will not be signing him. He'll be on trial if he joins us, and then he'll just leave. Unless he turns out to be a really good striker, then we have got room in our squad for one more player, so we could bring him in. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is just go to your scouting, select on players in range or scouted players, whichever you want to do. I tend to go for players in range. Use your search bar here. We just take this off a minute and go to transfer again. You can leave it like that. If you've got a position in mind, say we want to do the anchor role in midfield. I mean, there's not actually anybody available for us, but you also need to make sure this selects unattached. It won't let us do an anchor because there's no anchors available, basically. But if you just click any and OK, you'll then get people that you've scouted. And then underneath that, you'll get pretty much anyone else. And again, you can just click there, scroll down a bit, click there. You've then got 14 people highlighted. I'm not going to bring them in on trial. But again, just go through the same thing. Offer them the trial, select 1, 2, 3 or 4 weeks. And in they come. I'm not going to do that because I don't want them in on trial. Likewise, if you are not looking for transfers, you're looking for a loans, just select the loan button as well. And that will give you the information. You just need to make sure where it says unattached, you change it to any. And then you can choose players to come in on loan for you. So that's basically how I go about bringing players in. And if we go back here, we are, that's the Charlie Kelman bloke that we just put in a trial offer for. So, yeah, let's look at who we brought in then. Teddy Rowe is the first one that came in. Decent star rating, 5-star potential player, could be a very good League One player. He's into playing in midfield. He can do the Mazzala and the advanced playmaker role. He specialises in the Mazzala, so that's where we will use him. And yeah, you look at his attributes for the Mazzala role. He's got some very decent attributes. Could do with improving tackling and vision a little bit, maybe even his composure. But other than that, at this level, he seems a pretty decent player. So far for us, 7 games played, 1 goal, 1 assist at 6.96. So he's got off to a pretty decent start. Then we had Cameron Plain. So we needed 2 goalkeepers. And he was the first one we brought in. He is our main goalkeeper. And yeah, he's had a pretty decent start for us, 6.97, played 6 games. And again, got some decent attributes for the goalkeeper. We are playing him as a sweeper keeper. So there is certain parts of it where he could do with improving a little bit more. But he's only 22 years old. He's got the potential to be 5 stars for us. So yeah, important player for us indeed. Then we brought in Cameron Antwi at anchor in the midfield. 22 years old. Again, we're bringing in younger players. We've got rid of a load of older players. We want to bring in younger players. Cameron Antwi comes in. He prefers to be a ball-playing or ball-winning midfielder or a defensive midfielder. We've got him playing the anchor role on defend. And again, his stats for it, his attributes for it are very decent. Don't just go by the star rating. That's a very handy guide to have. And if their star rating looks good, by all means, have a look at the attributes to make sure they line up largely with what you want anyway. And this guy certainly does. And he's been a very good player for us. He's got an assist from 7 games, 6.87. Previously played for Cardiff, ASC Telford, Blackpool, Southport and Fulham. Although Fulham and Blackpool and Cardiff never actually played any games. He's not played a great deal of games in his professional career, really. Then we get to Dylan Wharton, who's our backup goalkeeper. Not too different to our number 1 goalkeeper, to be fair. He's 22 years old. Previously from Gainsborough, where he made 33 appearances, conceding 34 goals. He's made a couple of appearances for us already in the Carabao Cup and I think the Bristol Street Motors Trophy thing that it's called. 6.85. Like I say, backup goalkeeper. He will provide plenty of competition to Cameron Plain and number 1. Then we brought in Kiddo Taylor Hart, I should say. Started off his career at Arsenal, went to Derby, never played for either of them. He played 10 games for Bromley last season. He's now in with us. He is our starting left inside forward. And he prefers to be a winger, but he's an inside forward. He's not been that great, to be honest, but we'll give him time. We'll see how he's going. But he has got others breathing down his neck, which we'll show you about those shortly. And then we got Adebolo Aluwo. Yep. 24 years old, 3-star kind of be a 4-star potential. In terms of being a central defender on defend, he can head, he can mark, he can tackle. His positioning could do some improving. He's got some improving in some of these as well, especially composure. But overall, he is a pretty decent signing for us. 6 appearances, 6.73. He's been solid, let's just say that, if not spectacular. And then lastly, Marcel Oakley came in from Birmingham on loan. We had John Newton, our left back, our first choice left back, was unhappy that we didn't have sufficient quality and depth in defence. We brought in Marcel Oakley from Birmingham. We have an affiliation with Birmingham, so we was able to go there, get him and bring him in. We don't pay any wages. We didn't pay to bring him in on loan, and he is a very solid right-sided wing back for us. He can play central defence as well. The fact he's 5'9" but it means he never will do. Plus he's red for jumping reach and can barely head a ball. So he's not going to be in the centre of our defence. But James Clark is our first choice right back. He's very much competition for him. Potentially could even be better than him. Who knows? We might even get to sign him in the future. He's currently got a valuation of up to 1.2 million. But if his contract runs out, then who knows? If we actually have a look at his contract with Birmingham runs out he's got a couple of seasons left on that, to be fair. And they do have an optional contract extension. So we're probably not going to see him here as a permanent transfer. But who knows? So that's basically the players that we bring in. What I also do, if we go to a tactics screen a moment, when I'm looking at who I want to bring in to my squad, at the end of each season, I look at who's going to be... I always fill out my first choice 11. And then I fill out the next 11 on the subs bench. So basically I've got my first and second 11 between the starting one and the subs bench. I then remove anyone from the whole lot that is going to be leaving because it's the end of their contract, for example. So when we done this last season, we had nobody in here for the goalkeeper. We had nobody in here for the backup goalkeeper. We had, I think there was a defender missing. There was a position here and here in midfield. We had our left inside forward position missing. And then we had a couple of players missing on the bench as well. That then tells me who I need to sign and what positions I need to sign them for. So being the old man that I am, I use pen and paper to write down that I need a goalkeeper for my first team. I need an inside forward for my first team, etc., etc., etc. And then I go out and buy them players. After that, I go to the squad planner. I don't really pay too much attention to this. I do fill it out, make sure it's all accurate. But I usually then click full squad view. And where's the next one? Squad depth. And then look at this to make sure I'm happy with our options. I would like a better goalkeeper, but we have got young goalkeepers with plenty of potential, so they could both improve on their star rating as well. Other than that, I think we have a very solid looking team. And if we go to the dynamics, actually, we'll go there first. Team cohesion is good. The club atmosphere is very good. Managerial support is excellent. If we then go to the schedule, show you how we've done so far this season. Friendlies have been friendlies. We lost a pre-season friendly against Everton. I mainly done that because it was a big money friendly. We was getting about $500,000 for that. So we've done that. And I think next season we might have to do another big one as well, just to try and help out with the finances. But we drew with Walsall, lost to our affiliate club, Birmingham, beat Folkestone, Corby, Kempston, Dartford, lost to Everton, beat Harrogate. And then we got to the start of the new season. And we started off with a game against Newport at home in front of 3,717 of our fans, or fans, some of them were theirs, obviously. A 3-0 win in this game with a hat-trick from Tavon Campbell. 3 minutes, 13 minutes, 53 minutes. And as you see, we were the better team. We had more shots on target, much, much better XG. And the one that I tend to go by at the moment is the average rating. And we was a whole point ahead of Newport County for that, 7.54 compared to a 6.41. Really happy with our start to life in League Two. Then we had the Carabao Cup first round against Forest Green. Again, we was at home. Only 1,341 in the ground, but we won the game 3-1. Goals from Kean Riley. We had a pretty much a full rotation. Cameron still played for us in goal, but Shambrook came in the right back position. Finn Howell came in the left back position. Cade Craig kept his place, but Aluro started alongside him. Antwi kept his place, but Warburton and Benton came in. Fedo Ross Lang and Kean Riley came in the inside forwards positions, and Mark Beck started up top. And yeah, a very rotated team. Only like 3 players in there that would be in their first 11, and a 3-1 win. Lovely, lovely stuff. Riley, Warburton and Ross Lang with the goals. And if you look at the average rating, 6.92 to 6.52, we were the better team. Then we played Tranmere in the league away from home, our first away game of the season. We got beaten 2-0 and we deserved to get beaten, I'd say, as well. They had better XG, better shots on target. The average rating, 7.17 to 6.49. They were a much better team than us. And yeah, they deserved to win it. So we take our licks. Then we played Crewe at home in the league, a 2-2 draw against Crewe. Goals from Tavon Campbell and Fidel Ross Lang in the 80th and the 82nd minute. They basically scored their first goal in the 77th minute. 3 minutes later, we made it 1-1. Then 2 minutes after that, 2-1. And I really thought we were going to get the win here before a 94th minute penalty broke our hearts and meant that Crewe got probably a deserved point, to be fair. I'd say a draw probably was a fair result. We then played, at the time, 22nd in the table, Salford. Won 3-0 against them. Teddy Rowe getting his first goal for us. Tavon Campbell continuing his scoring. And Charles Hagan also with a goal. Average rating, we were much better. It was a better performance from us, really. We were the better team than Salford, and we deserved the win. Then we come up against AFC Wimbledon in the Carabao Cup. They are a League One team. They're currently down by the relegation zone in League One. And I did wonder, should I put my first choice team out? But I decided to stick to the principles that I had in the previous Carabao Cup game. And we went with a full rotation, even more of a rotation, because Dylan Wharton played in goal and Gus Mafuta replaced Antwi in the anchor role as well. It was actually 1-1 after extra time. We went to penalties. So, you know, we've done very well to actually take a League One team to penalties. Then we were back in the league, away from home again, third away game in a row, and a 1-1 draw against Port Vale. And again, you look at the stats, and I'll say, it's a pretty even game. Even possession was pretty much 50-50. The average rating is 6.75 for us, 6.8 for them. Maybe they were a little bit better than us, but overall it was fairly even. Tavon Campbell giving us a 94th minute equaliser. Then we had Forest Green again in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy Southern Section group, whatever group number we're in. We won 5-1. I mean, a pretty dominant performance here. Their goalkeeper was in the red. Dylan Wharton started again. Again, it's a much rotated side, even to the point where Max Brogan was in the centre of midfield for us. It's his first appearance, and he picked up a goal from the penalty spot. John Benton also getting a penalty as well. One of his 2 goals. Fidel Ross Lang getting 2 goals as well. In terms of assists, we had assists from Finn Howell and Kieran Riley. 5 key passes for Max Brogan as well. He had a really, really good game. And yeah, that got us off to a winning start in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. If we look at our group, we have been told we've got a tough group. We've obviously just beaten Forest Green. There is Exeter and Bournemouth under 21s in our group. The top 2 go through, so we may get a place through to the next round. Stop that, will you? And yeah, after that, I think we then have like the round of 16, quarterfinals, semi-finals, that kind of thing. But I'm not too worried about the trophy, the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. But if we get a chance to win it and do well in it, then obviously we're going to take it. And we have Exeter that we're going to be playing next. Got a bit carried away. I weren't supposed to play the Forest Green game because the idea is I come back and speak to you once the transfer window closes, which closed at the end of August, beginning of September. I then played the Forest Green game. It's now the 7th of September. I was about to play the Wrexham game and then realised I hadn't recorded part 1 of the video. So, yeah, I got a bit carried away with myself, which goes to show I am enjoying what we're doing here. So we're out of the Carabao Cup. We still have the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. We enter the FA Cup in the first round on the 2nd of November. We have no idea who we're playing yet. But if we could have a decent run in that competition, get a big money game in the 2nd or 3rd round type thing, that could really help our finances. In terms of League 2 and how we're doing in the league, we're currently 7th in the league. 2 wins, 2 draws and a defeat in the league. 8 points on the board. Basically, we need to stay outside of these 2 places here. So if we finish 22nd, then that's a successful season. And I don't mind that. If we end up finishing in the playoffs, I mean, for the record, I don't think we're going to. I don't think we're anywhere near being able to do that. If we actually have a look at the season preview, we're expected to finish 2nd bottom, and that hasn't changed throughout the summer transfer window. So we are massively overperforming at the moment. But what we'll do is we'll move over to part 2 of the video and have a look at how we're doing around the halfway stage of the season. When I see you on the other side of the transition, it will be around here, around the game against Bradford after the January transfer window closes. So yeah, let's go and have a look and let's see how we're doing so far. Well, we might be about to get promoted this season. I can't believe how well this is going. We'll get to the schedule in a minute and show you that. But we are currently 1 point clear of Bradford City at the top of the league, 3 points clear of Wrexham. And more importantly, we are 10 points clear of Mansfield, who are in fourth and the closest team to potentially knocking us out of the whole playoff area. I really thought we was going to be around it. I thought we had enough to survive this season, but I thought probably something like 17th to 20th might have been where our limit is. But we have been playing some sensational football, and it's not just my first team either, it's my reserve team as well, and we'll get to that right now. In fact, what we'll do is go to the competitions page. We are still in the FA Cup as well. We are in the fourth round of the FA Cup. We've got a replay against Cambridge United. We drew with them at their ground. We're now going to be playing them at our ground. And if we get through there, we play Wigan in the fifth round, and Wigan are 15th in Sky Bet League One. We've got a real possibility of getting to the quarter-finals of the FA Cup. That is madness. The Carabao Cup, as you knew from part one of the video, we got knocked out in the second round by AFC Wimbledon, and we are in the semi-final of the southern section of the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. Now, what I am assuming happens is if we beat Reading, which I don't know where Reading are, they are fifth in Sky Bet League One, so that could be quite a challenge. They're obviously playing well. There's also Derby against Barnsley. Derby are third in League One, and Barnsley are 14th in League One. So in all honesty, you'd expect Reading against Derby to be the final of the southern section. I'm assuming what then happens is the winner of this southern section final then goes on and plays the winner of the northern final in the actual final. That's what I assume. I've never won the Bristol Street Motors Trophy or the Johnson Paint trophies it was before that and whatever else prior to that. I've never won this trophy. It's never something I take seriously. But am going to take it seriously this season because I would actually like to quite win it, to be honest. And I mean, I'd like to win the FA Cup. I don't think that's going to happen, but you'll see the route we've had in all these competitions when we go to the schedule right now. And let's go up to the beginning of the season. You knew about our friendlies and you knew how we done in our games in August and that we beat Forest Green for the second time this season in cup competitions. So we don't need to go through all of that. But we then played Wrexham and won 2-0 with goals from Kiddo Taylor-Hart and James Clark. I'm not going to take you through all the stats of all the games because we'll be here till next Christmas. Then we played Bradford. Now, bear in mind, Wrexham and Bradford City are two teams that are up in the playoff or automatic promotion places with us. We played Bradford City, a 1-1 win in that game with a goal from Kiddo Taylor-Hart. They then equalised through Harry Chapman. Then we played Leyton Orient and won that game 5-2. Mark Beck getting a couple of goals, Kiddo Taylor-Hart getting a goal, and Charles Hagan also getting a goal, or getting 2 goals rather, in that one. That was Leyton Orient. Then we played Morecambe and beat them 3-1. Goals from Kiddo Taylor-Hart, Fidel Ross-Lang and Teddy Rowe. Then came Rochdale, who we beat 3-0. 2 goals from Tavon Campbell and 1 from Joe Sabara from the penalty spot. Then we played Exeter in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy, and they are a League One team. They beat us 3-1. We did get a goal through Mark Beck, but yeah, they were the better team in that game. We were still playing our second string side here. I mean, looking through that, I don't think there's actually potentially maybe Alex Whitmore. But other than that, there's not really anyone there that would get in our first 11. Then we played Forest Green again and beat them 3-2, this time with a goal from Charles Hagan and 2 from Tavon Campbell. Then we beat Grimsby 3-0. Tavon Campbell getting another couple of goals there. Charles Hagan also on the score sheet. Then we played Accrington Stanley and beat them 2-1 at home. Kiddo Taylor-Hart and Matt Warburton getting a rare start for him. Then we played Notts County. Away from home, lost 2-0. Yeah, we move on. Then we played Mansfield away from home and lost 4-2. This was probably the only time I say this season that we were massively, comprehensively beaten. That we were just not good enough to beat Mansfield on the day. And a 4-2 win for them. I mean, they were 3-0 up at one point before we got a goal back. They then made it 4-1. They were never in any trouble against us. Then we played Bristol Rovers in the FA Cup first round at home and we won 1-0 with a goal from our right back, James Clark. Bristol Rovers, League One, mid-table in League One, 11th in League One, just about the top half of the table. Then we played Northampton and won 4-1. Oakley, our loanee right back, Cade Craig, our centre back, Tavon Campbell and Charles Hagan with the goals in that game. Then we played Crawley at home and won 3-0. Mark Beck getting on the score sheet as well. Also Cameron Antwi, I think that was his first goal for us in the 98th minute of the game. Then we played the Bristol Street Motors Trophy group game against Bournemouth under-21s and we won that 4-3. Again, a massively rotated team. We did have James Clark, John Newton, Cameron Antwi, Teddy Rowe, Charles Hagan. So we did go quite a bit stronger in this game than what we would normally do. But a 4-3 win against Bournemouth under-21s, that was very, very nice indeed. Then we beat Barrow 4-0 in the league away from home. A couple of goals from Campbell, goal from Kiddo Taylor-Hart, who's really come into himself after an auspicious start, shall we say. And Joe Sabara also on the score sheet. Then we beat Walsall 2-1 away from home. We then lost against the most hated team in English football, the MK Dons. Spoiler alert, it's not the only time we've lost against them this season, which is quite frustrating considering how much I hate the club. Then we played against AFC Wimbledon and got a draw in that game, a 3-3 draw, real end-to-end game. And that was in the FA Cup second round, by the way. So that obviously then forced a replay back at our place. We then played Leyton Orient in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy Southern Section second round. We beat them 1-0, League 2 Leyton Orient. Then we played Doncaster Rovers and we beat them. No, we didn't. We lost to them 1-0. And yeah, another away from home game. Only one goal in it. George Miller for Doncaster. As you can see there, our goalkeeper didn't play particularly well. Then we played the replay against AFC Wimbledon, winning 4-3. I mean, some of these games, there are a lot of goals in these games. Then we played Gillingham, so that puts us through to the third round. And obviously we were hoping to get a big tie, you know, away to Man United, away to Liverpool, away to Arsenal, away to Spurs, something like that. We got at home to Sheffield Wednesday, but we'll get to that in a minute. We then played Gillingham in League 2, a 3-0 win in that game, another couple of goals from Tavon Campbell, John Benton also getting a goal for us. Then we drew with Cheltenham 2-2, and we then lost for the second time this season against MK Dons 1-0. Then we beat Morecambe 2-1 away before a home win against Rochdale 2-0. Then we move into January. The games we were having in January and December, by the way. I mean, just look at all these games. December here, January here. I think I worked it out something like there's 17 games in total there. And obviously there is like 2, 4, 6 cup games there. But 17 games in 2 months. That's almost half a Premier League season. But yeah, where did I get to? Grimsby, we won 2-0. Then we played Sheffield Wednesday. Now, they're a championship team. Admittedly, at the time, they were 24th in the championship, and they still are. And yeah, we beat them 2-0. Clearly, because they're in such terrible form, the dynamics are really low. You know, the dressing room atmosphere is poor. The cohesion is probably not great. We took advantage of that to win 2-0. Then we played Bristol Rovers in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy section third round and we won 2-1. Now, as you can see here, we had a fairly strong team out there. There was some rotation. We had a rotated goalkeeper, but we had Alex Whitmore in there. We had Fidel Ross-Lang, who plays quite frequently, as does Cian Riley, but it was a heavily rotated team and we won 2-1. And then we played Accrington and beat them, drew with them 1-1. Then we played Forest Green and a 5-1 win at home to Forest Green. I think it's about the fourth time we've played them this season. We beat them every time, poor Forest Green. Then we played Notts County and beat them 3-1. That was at home, followed by another home game against Port Vale that we won 2-1. Then we get into the cup games again. Cambridge in the FA Cup fourth round, we drew 1-1 in the away game there. And Wycombe Wanderers in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. Now, we had a fully rotated 11 for this game and we was away from home and we smashed them 7-1. Mark Beck got a hat-trick, Matt Warburton got 3 and Gus Mafuta got 1. Absolutely smashing them in the quarterfinals, which is how we find ourselves in the semi-final of the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. We've got games coming up. We've got Bradford in the league, which is a real top of the table clash. We've also got Cambridge, the replay for the FA Cup fourth round in that one, with a potential fifth round game against Wigan. It is, honestly, it has been a crazy first half and a bit. We've actually played 31 games, 20 wins, 5 draws, 6 defeats. I mean, we've not been perfect by any stretch of the imagination. We've lost 6 games this season, just like the MK Dons have. Bradford have only lost 2, but they've drawn 13. Teams just beat each other in this league is what I've come to establish. And Sky Bet League 2 is not a particularly great league in terms of quality. And I don't think there's a great deal of difference between this and League One, to be honest. Right, what we're going to do now is we're going to go over to the finance screen and have a look at that, because I've got some confusing and alarming news to show you. Okay, so before we actually get to the finances, I just realised I haven't actually shown you my attributes and licenses and all that since we started with Solihull Moors. We did start on a National A licence, and obviously the attributes reflected a National A licence. When you start a game up, it gives you the option to select the manager profile suitable to the club that you're managing, and that's basically what we selected. We then went and studied for a Continental C licence and got it. We are now studying for a Continental B licence as well. So these are our attributes at the moment. It don't really mean a great deal in the grand scheme of things, because we're not looking at moving to other clubs or anything like that. We're going to be staying with Solihull Moors, but that's what it is anyway. And these are our career stats. We had a 65% win rate, and the press are more used to seeing his assistant. That's because I send my assistant to all my media duties. I haven't got time for media duties, especially when I'm trying to get through a Road to Glory save. But anyway, I have also recently signed a new, almost went to resign then, a new contract. I started off at the club on £2,000 per week. I'm still on £2,000 per week, but I'm contracted now until the end of next season, and it started in September of this season. Basically like an 18-month contract, I suppose, nearly 2 years. Promotion wage rise of 15%, relegation wage drop of 35%, and percentage of club compensation required for managerial role 90%. That's £130,000. Usually, if this was a journeyman type thing, I would look to take that out. But like I said, I'm not looking at moving on, so it doesn't really matter. Dynamics wise, team cohesion is excellent. Club atmosphere is very good. Managerial support is excellent. Joe Sabara still wants to go to a bigger club, and Charles Hagan wants to be paid what he feels he deserves. But there's a reason why I can't pay him, and that is because of this down here. I am failing financial fair play, and I have no idea how. But first of all, looking at the finances, at one point in November of 2024, we were £259,000 in the red. The run in the FA Cup and probably the Bristol Street Motors Trophy has helped as well. We are now £217,000 in credit. So the cup run has really done us a lot of good without actually coming up against a big team, which is what I want, but it doesn't look like I'm going to get it. We're probably going to have to beat Wigan, but even then we'll probably be drawn at home anyway. But in terms of the transfer budget, that is as it is. We've not bought anybody because we're in a transfer embargo. Now, talking of this financial fair play, so let's just have a look at the summary for a moment. Sky Bet League 2 FFP regulations require the club to keep player wage expenditure below £23,500 per week. Player wage expenditure below £23,500 per week, right? We are currently spending £29,173. So obviously we're over that, right? But we're currently spending £29,173. Right, back to the summary. The club are currently spending £25,000. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's doing us a favour per week on player wages, and so we'll need to cut wages by £1,500 per week in order to comply with the regulations. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a screenshot on screen round about now, where we had an email come through this was probably about October, November time, that we were failing financial fair play, and we were failing it by about £150, I think it was, something like that. So what I've done was, Guy Mafuta, I negotiated a new contract with him, managed to get him to reduce his current wages by £100 a week. And I also released 4 players. And if we have a look at the released players thing, here, Liam Bissell, Luke Manning, Harry Askin and Josh Burgess. They were all players that had like 1.5 star potential, if that kind of thing. There you go, like potentially 1.5 star. So we let them 4 go. They're all on like £50 a week. That brought us back under on the financial fair play. So we was passing financial fair play again. The transfer embargo was lifted. Lovely, lovely stuff. Then probably about January time, beginning of January, we're back to failing financial fair play again. And we've gone from, at the time, we were spending something like 22.5 thousand on player wages, and we've now up to 25,000. And I don't know how, because nobody's had like a bonus given to them for playing a certain amount of games, or no one's had wages go up or anything like that. So I don't know how our wages are going up. I really don't. And I don't understand how this is saying that we're spending £25,000 a week when this is saying we're spending £29,000 a week. And why the board have even given us a budget of 39,000, because I've not altered this. I've not put any of this into the wage budget. This is what the board have given me. But did they not do their homework to know that if we was, I mean, can you imagine if we was on 39 grand? It's absolutely mental. Now, what I also want to check, I haven't actually checked this, but I'm assuming we're one of the lowest teams. But I want to look at the salary. So, salary per annum, we are second bottom. So, does that mean that all the teams above us are over their FFP and all failing? Because I don't know how it's worked out, because if they're working it out based on the money we have as a club, back then I could understand it. But now that we're up here, surely that's got to have some sort of effect. I really don't know how they work out financial fair play in League Two. It is very, very confusing. Our financial status is okay. And from what I can see, the only punishment, so to speak, is that you'll be on a transfer embargo until you've fallen back in line with League Two. So what I do know is that next season, if we do get to League One, League One's FFP is 60% of your turnover. You can't spend more than 60% of your turnover on player wages. So what I'm hoping is if we do get promoted to League One, that the board bear that in mind with the wage budget, because if 39,602 means we're going to be over the 60% of our turnover, then in theory they should be lowering that so it falls in line, because otherwise they're telling me I can still spend another 10,000, yet I'm already a couple of thousand over the FFP. So that is very, very confusing for me. If you know how finances work in FM, please let me know, because I've not understood finances for a long time. All I've ever gone by is make sure you're under your wage budget and spend your transfer budget, basically. And that's all I've ever really needed to know. This season, we've made £233,000 profit as well, by the way. Right. Is there anything else I want to show you? There is. I want to show you our youth intake preview. Now, this is saying C rating is the best we're going to do for strikers, wingers, attacking midfielders and fullback. This says it's an excellent intake, a real golden generation for the club. This and this don't seem to be talking to each other. That's all I can say. But we'll see what happens nearer the time. And that is pretty much it in terms of your mid-season review. So I guess we will move over to part 3 now. Have we been able to win the Bristol Street Motors Trophy? Have we won the FA Cup? I mean, we're not going to, but have we? But more to the point, are we going to get promoted from League Two? And here we are. We have won the league, top of the table. 46 games played, 32 wins, 5 draws, 9 defeats, a goal difference of 56 and 101 points on the board. Bearing in mind, we have lost 9 games and drawn 5. That's 14 games where we've dropped points during the course of this season. Yet we still managed to finish 13 points ahead of Wrexham and 15 points ahead of the most hated team in English football, MK Dons. Unfortunately, they are coming up to League One with us. And as you can see here, Tavon Campbell, 25 goals, was our top goal scorer. We'll probably find him the top goal scorer in the league as well. Also our highest average rated player. And our assists came from Joe Newton, our left back, and Teddy Rowe and Mazzala in the midfield with 10 assists apiece. If we actually have a look at the stats for the season, yeah, Tavon Campbell was the top goal scorer, 4 ahead of Joe Ironside of Doncaster, and Lewis Baker was in there as well of Wrexham. We didn't have anyone in the top assists, only just missing out, to be fair. Both of theirs were on 10. You had to get 11 to get in it. And yeah, Tavon Campbell was second in the player of the match area, top of the average rating. If we have a look at some detailed stats for the teams, average possession, we were second in the league for average possession with 59%, which was very nice. I do like to have a lot of possession in my vertical tiki-taka formation that I play. Headers won ratio, we're not particularly good in terms of headers won, bottom half of the table of that. But you know the real reason why I'm here, and that is for the set pieces. So if we have a look at, actually I want to look at cross completion, because so 15% cross completion. My teams usually do feature highly in this type of area, to the point where fifth is probably a bit low for what I'd prefer. Where are we? Crosses completed. There you go. That's more like it. Second for crosses completed. That is what I like to see. Goals from corners. We've done reasonably well. Got 10, but we were nowhere near the top. So I think one of the things we need to concentrate on in the summer is getting some bigger boys in that can dominate at corners. From direct free kicks, we are joint third with 2 goals from direct free kicks, which is actually better than usual. We usually get 1 or none. And from indirect free kicks, we actually lead the table with goals from indirect free kicks, which means we do have a presence in the box. We just that doesn't compute quite as much from corners as it does from indirect free kicks. So all of that I find thoroughly fascinating, and I'll be having a very good look through the data hub and through my team stats and whatever else before I get into the signing of players for the new season. Now, I do need to bring you back to finances, because we are still failing financial fair play. These are the budgets that have been set for the new season. Our transfer budget is 109,257 and our wage budget is 43,786. So they've all gone up a little bit. The problem is my committed spend is currently 26,053 on here. But if we look at the financial fair play side of things, we are still £1,500 over what we're allowed to spend. So this will be fine, I presume, once it ticks over to League One and we enter the League One FFP, which is different to this. It's not based on an amount as such, it's based on 60% of your projected turnover. However, if we have a look at my squad, 2025 is the year we're in. We have got a lot of players whose contracts are expiring in a couple of months' time, at the end of June, basically. So if we have a look down the list, we've got James Clark, our first choice right back, Joe Newton, our first choice left back. I really don't want to lose him. We've also got Joe Sabara, who's likely to be leaving anyway, because he's decided he wants to leave at the end of his contract. So not a great deal we can do about that one. Charles Hagan, our first choice right inside forward, and Kiddo Taylor-Hart, our first choice left inside forward. Tavon Campbell, who again is going to be leaving anyway at the end of his contract. So that is a lot of players. Clark, Newton, that's what, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players from our first 11 potentially going to be leaving at the end of the season, because I cannot offer them new contracts. I tried offering someone a new contract. I think it was one of these that I weren't that worried about keeping. And all I was allowed to offer was like £110 a week. So until FFP sorts itself out, I cannot try and sign anyone. And if I had a choice, I'd keep James Clark, I'd keep Joe Newton. Then him, like I say, he's already leaving anyway. I'd keep Hagan and Kiddo Taylor-Hart, and then him I can't really do much about. But then you get into the rest of my squad, and I mean, there's only there's only 3 players out of all of these 15 whose contracts don't run out at the end of the season, and there's some I'll be quite happy to see leave. Like Alex Whitmore, I'm quite happy to go. He's 29 years old anyway. He's not particularly good. He's not going to be good enough once we get to League One. Where else are we? Then we get Kean Riley. I'd probably try and keep him if I could. Connor Hall, I'd probably try and keep him because he's actually impressed me in the latter half of the season. Fidel Ross Lang, probably want to keep him. Cole Morrison can leave, he's 29 years old. Mark Beck can leave, he's 31 years old. Then we've got a couple of good promising youngsters in Joel Shambrook and Finn Howe. Finn Howe I definitely want to keep. He's got 5-star potential. Matt Warburton, I mean, he's 32 years old. I'll probably let him go. Max Brogan, I'll probably let him go. And Jack Stevens, I'll probably let him go. But at the moment, I'm not going to have a choice, because if we're not allowed to offer contracts to players, I'm going to be potentially, 21 players of this squad are going to be leaving? That is going to be a hell of a rebuild in the summer. And I don't know how much money we're going to have to do it. we might even be relying solely on youth. Talking of youth, if we go to our dev centre, we were promised an excellent intake and we have been given one. Adam Wills is an attacking midfielder on the right-hand side, can also play on the left as well. He's got 1.5 star current ability with 5-star potential. Again, he's only 16 years old. Obviously, he's not the kind of player that I perceive will be with us if and when we ever get to the Premier League. But he is a player that potentially we could end up selling on for a little profit in a few years' time. Same with all of these, really. Tyrese Hullett, another 5-star potential player, right or left of midfield, plus can play up top. Again, 5-star potential, really good 2 elite talents there. Then we have the top talents. We've got Kirk Purcell, who's a goalkeeper who has actually already been on our bench because we had an injury to Dylan Wharton. So I moved him onto the bench at the age of just 15. He never actually came on and played, but he has been on our bench. He knows he is a big player for us in the years to come. Kelvin Sears has 2.5 to 3.5 stars. Then you've got Andy Hancock has 4-star potential. Chris Storer, 2.5 to 3.5 star potential. Then you get into the ones that are basically just stocking fillers for Christmas, really. Whether it's a golden generation would be debatable, but it's still a very good youth intake. I'm very happy with that. If we go back to the competitions, you'll see here as well that the FA Cup, we got through to the quarter-finals of the FA Cup. We beat Wigan when we played them. We then came up against Arsenal, and sadly, we were the home team. As I said would be the case, when we finally get one of the big teams, yeah, it's not at their ground, it's not the big payday, but the run to the quarter-final of the FA Cup, which is quite extraordinary, has been enough to put our bank balance at least in a very favourable position at £451,000. Carabao Cup, you know about, we got in a second round, and the Bristol Street Motors Trophy, we got to the semi-final, but then got knocked out by Reading. So what I think we'll do now is we'll move over to the end of season review, and then we'll have a look through the schedule and a little bit of a chat about what's to come in the next episode. So before we get to the end of season review, we've got these few emails that we'll go through first. The supporter profile update, our core has gone down to 26% and our fair weather has gone up to 11%. The rest of it stays exactly as it is. We've gained 4.4 thousand followers on social media. Our supporters' influence on the board is moderate, 3 stars, and we've got 802 season ticket holders. If we then have a look at some other things, so this is at club vision and expectations, attempt to avoid relegation from League One. I'm uncertain as to how League One's going to go. I don't know if we're going to be battling relegation. We could well be up there in the playoff places because League One, League Two, National League, there's not a great deal of difference between the two. So the rest of it is as it always was. They're satisfied, delighted, all that sort of stuff. Making most set pieces, reserving judgment. I mean, we are trying our best, you know. There's nothing about a new stadium, which was previously on here, and our contract expires at the end of next season as well. So we'll accept the current vision for that. Dynamics is decent. End of season team meeting. We know what we need to do here. We just need to say to them that we're going to try and avoid relegation and give people a chance. Well done on getting the club promoted. I really think we can start up next year provided we make the right additions. I'm not sure they like that because then I'm telling them I'm getting rid of a lot of them. Before you all go away for a well-deserved break, I just wanted to let you all know that I'm not planning to replace any of it. I don't really want to say that. You've done brilliant to get us promoted. I'm going to get... I mean, that is kind of how I feel. They're pleased with that. We can stay up, says Joe Sabara, who wants to leave the club anyway. Okay. There you go. That'll be all for now. We'll leave them happy. Everyone's had a bit of a morale boost. If we have a look at the dynamics... Well, apparently my support has gone down. Maybe we need to click over to the next day. Let's not worry too much about it. Our head physio, Laura Brown, has given us a detailed report. By the way, she is actually my 3rd highest paid staff member at this club. I was having a look through them a little while ago, and we have been given an extra scouting position we're allowed to employ, so that'll go up. We are now allowed a technical director and a recruitment analyst as well. And we're also allowed another coach. So that will all go up also. But yeah, I looked at that. I'm on £2,000 a week. My director of football is on £1,900 a week. And then I'm looking through the rest of them to see who my other highly paid staff members are. And you've got my head of youth development is on £750 a week. My I've got a performance analyst, not even my head performance analyst, just a performance analyst that's on £750 a week. But you go over to Laura Brown, she's on £775 a week. So yeah, she is currently my third highest paid staff member. Not that's relevant to anything, I just thought I'd throw that out there. Right, let's get over to the actual end of season review now. So we've not got to the end of season review yet, but transfer embargo lifted. So we are now compliant with financial fair play. We've also been hit with a tax bill. That's our commercial summary, which we'll get to all of that when we get to the end of season review. Don't know why we're getting all this information without that, but it is what it is. But yeah, look at the finances. Sky Bet League One is now ticked over to League One. We are now compliant. And when we look at the summary, we have to keep our player wage expenditure below £55,000 per week. We are currently spending £25,000 per week. And that is fine because we're not allowed to spend $55,000 anyway. In actual fact, in order for us to be able to spend a little bit more, I mean, I can't even do that. Will this move? Right, we'll leave it at that for now. With our committed spending, we've still got around £17,000 to spend on new players. What I will obviously be doing very shortly, once the end of season review comes and goes and I can end this episode, I will then sit here and start cherry picking the players I want. So Clark, Newton, Hagan and Hart, they will be the first people that I try to offer a new contract to. I will try to get this guy here, Joe Sabara, to get him to sign a new contract. I don't think he's going to. Tavon Campbell, I'm not too concerned about. He's not as good as what he seems to think he is. But yeah, if you look at the age profile of our team as well, it's all the kind of age profile that I like, 26, 27 and under kind of thing. Joe Sabara on the cusp of that. Tavon Campbell is over it. After those, I'll probably want to keep Dylan Wharton because he's their backup goalkeeper. Oakley will obviously be leaving anyway. And then looking down the list, I think I'll probably offer Riley a new deal, maybe Connor Hall as well, maybe Fidel Rosslang. I mean, definitely Finn Howe will be getting given a new contract. And then it's going to be bringing players in. So that is all looking really rather promising. And I love the fact that we're now there and we have a little bit of money to spend as well, should we need to. Although I absolutely love a bargain. Right, I promise you, the next time you see me, it will be the end of season review. See, I told you it'd be the end of season review. In case you're interested, by the way, Bradford City will be joining us, Wrexham and the MK Dons in League One next season. They won the playoff final on penalties against Port Vale. Right, there's a lovely little trophy that we've won, the League Two trophy. This is our first full season review, I suppose. Right, so in terms of star signing, Cameron Antwi gets that. We got him from Cardiff on a free transfer, 48 appearances, 2 goals, 6 assists for our defensive midfielder with a 7 rating. Marcel Oakley got a 7.01, 22 starts, 24 sub appearances, 3 goals, 7 assists for him. It says he's a centre back. He wasn't. He's a backup right back. Teddy Rowe came in from Aston Villa on a free. They're all free transfers, so we keep saying it. 34 starts, 13 sub appearances, 5 goals, 11 assists at a 7 rating. Why he's not green and he is, I don't quite know. But yeah, it'd be between them two as to who our star signing is. And I'll say they've probably got it right with Cameron and Antwi. Then Cameron Plain came in as well from Bournemouth, 50 starts, 6.91. Kiddo Taylor Hart in from Arsenal on a free transfer, 44 starts, 4 sub appearances, 12 goals, 9 assists at 6.89. He had a very slow start with us, but once he got going, he was really, really good. Adabola Aluru from Barnet, 50 appearances in total, 12 of them from the subs bench, 1 goal, 1 assist at 6.85 for the centre-back. Our defence has not been the best. We are, I think, the 3rd best in the league, but not the best. Dylan Wharton, backup goalkeeper, 13 appearances, no goals or assists. You wouldn't expect him to get any goals at 6.65. In terms of transfers out, it's only them 3 that have really gone, yeah, is what it is. Moving on to a season to remember. In terms of the league, this was a season to remember as well. Top of the league, 101 points, as we've already said. We've already kind of gone through this. The FA Cup, we did have a relatively kind run, playing mainly just League 1, League 2 teams, with the exception of Sheffield Wednesday that were Championship. But Bristol Rovers, we beat them 1-0. AFC Wimbledon, we beat 4-3 in the replay. Sheffield Wednesday, we beat 2-0. Cambridge United, we beat 2-1 in a replay. Wigan Athletic, we drew 1-1. Did we win that on penalty? I'm getting confused now. I think we might have won that on penalty. I don't know. We'll have a look at the schedule to determine that. And then we came up against Arsenal and lost 4-0. Got absolutely spanked in that. Then in the League Cup, we went out to AFC Wimbledon. We played them a couple of times this season. And the Bristol Street Motors Trophy, decent group stage, losing to Exeter, but beating Forest Green and Bournemouth under 21s. Then we beat Leyton Orient, beat Bristol Rovers, beat Wycombe Wanderers, and then we went out to Reading. In terms of moments to remember, the 7-1 win against Wycombe in the Bristol Street Motor, a League One team, by the way. That was their biggest win of the season. Match to remember was a 4-0 win against Barrow away from home in League Two. And the goal of the season was from Matt Warburton, a top draw goal from Moors attacking midfielder Warburton as he hits a powerful volley from 23 metres. In terms of the club's finances, their reputation is 2 stars at the moment. It was 1.5 star last season, so we are growing the reputation of the club. 2 new sponsorship deals, £52.9 thousand. The most notable deal, the 1-year deal worth £26.45 thousand. Sponsorship's gone up a little bit. Broadcast revenue has gone up considerably. That will obviously be because of the FA Cup. Corporate and hospitality has gone up significantly as well, as has competition prize money. And matchday commercial and retail has gone up by about £90,000. Total merchandise sales, £108,000. Non-domestic sales amounting to 0. So nobody's buying anything outside of England or the UK, basically. It doesn't tell us who their top shirt sales are. In terms of their first 11, it's got Plain, Newton, Clark, Aluwu, Craig, Antwi, Warburton, Sabara. I mean, I'd have Teddy Rowe in there. I don't know why it's picked Warburton. It might be because he's got a better rating, but yeah, Teddy Rowe would be in there. Taylor, Hart and Hagan with Campbell up top. Yeah, other than the Warburton bit, I agree with that exactly. Record breakers, Tavon Campbell, most overall goals by a player in a season with 28 goals in all competitions. He's most league goals by a player in a season for 25. Most clean sheets by a player in a season is Cameron Plain with 16. And the fastest goal, Matt Warburton, with a goal in 45 seconds. I've won a couple of Manager of the Month awards. Tavon Campbell is the fans player of the season. Joe Newton is the young player of the season. Sign of the season, as we know, is Cameron Antwi. Goal of the season, we know, is Matt Warburton. Top goal scorer, Tavon Campbell. Most assists, Charles Hagan with 11. Matt Warburton is the most player of the match awards with 7. Tavon Campbell, highest average rating. And Adebola Aluwu with 67 passes per 90 minutes. History in the making, gives us a little look at the table, gives us their trophy. Solihull Moors looked a class above anyone else when they got going in the middle of the year. Few have expected this outcome, but they gave themselves a chance and have reaped the rewards. From Nick Molyneux of the Daily Mirror. There you go. And the manager timeline is, as I always say, what the manager timeline is. If we then have a look, if I click on the right thing, our overall best 11, I mean, this will take shape in time, but it's already pretty much looking like my team, isn't it? I mean, that is basically my team from this season. Then we've got a season review. We've already done that. Collective bonuses being paid out. We're going to receive £482,000 of League Two Solidarity Payment Scheme. If we look at the finances, I mean, we've got a lot of money in the bank, haven't we? I did recently ask for their training facilities to be upgraded because they've dropped down. They're now below average. The board rejected it. I will make another attempt to get that improved, along with some junior coaching and youth recruitment. In actual fact, if we go and have a little chat with them now, youth recruitment and junior coaching, where's improved youth recruitment? There you go, we'll ask for that. Junior coaching, I don't usually ask a great deal about junior coach, so increase junior coach budget, see what they say about that. And we can't ask them to improve the training facilities just yet. So, yeah, we'll see how they respond to that. I'll let you know about that in the next episode next Sunday. In the meantime, we'll just have a quick look at the schedule. We finished off, I think we'd played the game against Bradford, or we might have been about, either way, we won it 1-0. Then we had the FA Cup 4th round replay, which we won 2-1 against Cambridge. Then it was Leyton Orient in the league. We beat them 3-0. Wrexham were next up, 3-2. We beat them away from home. Mansfield we beat 2-1, revenging our defeat from earlier on in the season. We beat them at home 2-1. Northampton, 3-1 win away from home in that one, followed by beating Wigan in extra time, 4-1. That was showing us 1-1 earlier on. That's what really confused me. It was 1-1 after 90 minutes, and then we won 4-1 after extra time. If you actually have a look at it as well, by the way, because this was mental, it went on to the 125th minute. Tavon Campbell went off injured in the 122nd minute, and then Oakley and a player for them, Matty Jacob, went off in the 125th minute. At this point, I'm just begging the referee to just blow the full-time whistle, because everyone was going off injured at this point, and I was afraid I was going to end up with no squad. But yeah, we did get through that. Then we lost to Barrow, went for a bit of a terrible run here, actually. We then lost 2-1 to Barrow. We then beat Tranmere 4-1, and we beat Newport County 2-1. Then we had 2 defeats, both cup competitions. The defeat against Reading 1-1 was a score, but we lost on penalties. And then against Arsenal. Now, I just want to show you this a minute, because bearing in mind, we are League 2 Solihull Moors, out of their depth in the quarter-final of the FA Cup. And just look at the team that Arsenal are playing. Rui Silva, who I presume is their backup goalkeeper, because Aaron Ramsdale's their number 1. Ben White, Saliba, Kivior, Zinchenko. I mean, that's a pretty solid... White and Saliba are part of their current back 4. Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard and Kai Havertz in midfield, with Saka, Martinelli and Jesus in attack. I mean, the fact that they felt they had to put that strong a team out in the quarter-final of the FA Cup away to little Solihull Moors, I will take that as a huge compliment, especially considering they could have played the likes of Tierney, Smith Rowe and Ketty and Nelson, Timber, you know, all this. They could have played some of those, but they went pretty strong against us. I would say out of that, only Kivior and Zinchenko are players that wouldn't normally be in their first 11. So we can take a huge compliment from that. We then went on and lost to Crawley 3-1 in the league, before beating Salford 3-1 and then losing to Crewe 1-0. We then won against Doncaster 4-2, a 2-0 win against Gillingham and a 2-0 win against Walsall, followed by a 4-1 win away from home against Cheltenham Town. And that wrapped up our season. So it's all about preparing now for next season. And hopefully you will join me next Sunday at 2 p.m. for that, and to see what players we bring in, what tactics we're going to use, any troubles we've had during the summer, and I'm sure there will be some. But that is all for next week. So thank you very much for joining me this week. I really do appreciate it. Please leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I'd really, really appreciate that. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.